single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day, I'm gonna...
Hi everyone, this is your girl Rosita Cooper, aka Mz.SSIPP with SIPP on Radio and Living Your Dreams with Rosita reality show. And today I have PASCAL Guyon.
Yeah!
Yes! He is a multi-platinum music producer who has contributed to 3 Grammy nominations. Oh wow.
Yes!
How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I am good. It is so good, and I am so honored to have you here with me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Okay, so I want you to tell us about your Grammy nominations. I mean,
yes.
Well, nothing just the nominations. You are a multi-platinum music producer. So could you tell us about that?
Oh, sure. How much time do you have? Exactly?
Oh, I got all the time in the world.
So I will try to make it as short as possible, but it started all the way back to when I was still living in France. And I was dreaming to work with some of the most famous artists, producers in modern music, popular music. And all my heroes were in the US. So, you know, I did a few things to manage to do that. First of all, I worked on my craft like a crazy person. I used to spend 10 hours a day practicing the piano. I also studied like crazy, like jazz and classical music, all the way to Latin music. I ended up in Cuba when I was 20. Played on stage with one of the most famous salsa bands when I was 20 over there. And I used internet a lot and social media a lot to connect with the right people. I've always been very aggressive on social media, and it worked out really well. So I actually ended up being invited in the US by a legendary music producer, songwriter. His name is Walter Afanasieff. That's the person who did some of the biggest Mariah Carey songs. He worked with everybody. He won Producer of the Year, the Grammys in 2001 or 2002. Really one of the biggest names. So thanks to him and a music executive called Chris Ivory, that brought me to the US. And my first week, I worked with Walter, and he was finishing a song for Leona Lewis, the first album, which became one of the biggest albums in the world in 2008. So my contribution to that was small, but I contributed to the arrangement of the song. And that was my first gig ever. That was my first week in the US. And the second week, I was introduced to Heavy D. And we did some tracks together. And one of the tracks went to Anthony Hamilton. So Anthony got 3 Grammy nominations with this album, because one of the singles got a Grammy for just the single as well. But I mean, we contributed to 2 Grammys for the album itself. But that's how it happened, and that was my first 2 weeks in the US.
Wow. Oh, wow. You came over here and showed out. You weren't playing.
Yeah, I mean, can you believe it? I'm just a French countryside person invited in the US by legendary names in music. So happy to meet with them, be able to do some music with them. My first month was crazy in Los Angeles because I was connected to great people with a lot of power. So the doors were open, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how it happened. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so what age were you when you first decided that you wanted to do music?
Wow. I think I decided around 15 or 16 that I wanted to focus on that, because that was the thing that was making the most sense. I didn't like school at all. And it's hilarious because I spend my days researching and learning things. but I hated school. And I think it's just because the way school is set up, it just doesn't work for people.
But you know, I didn't like school either, but I'm very creative. And I think it's because I was bored. You know, a lot of kids
Absolutely.
that's creative, they get bored in simple atmospheres. Tell me about your parents.
Okay, so the funny thing is, I mean, they've always been very supportive and always had great relationship. I mean, there's nothing bad to say at all. It's always been very, very good. And you know, it's a very humble family from the countryside. They were not in arts at all. But my mother loves to dance, which makes sense, you know, now because I did so much Latin music, and when you make that kind of music, the first goal is to make people dance. So that makes sense to me.
And she probably was dancing while you was in her stomach. You know, you were hitting them beats.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Exactly. Because, you know, when I started to play with bands, they were driving me to places to play with the band because I was 15, 16 and I started to play with bands and we were doing weddings and things like that. So they were coming with me, you know.
Awesome. That is so awesome. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any siblings?
No, it's just me.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so where exactly are you from? I know you said a country boy, French. Okay, where exactly are you from?
So I'm from the west side of France, not too far from the beach. And it's called exactly Chateaubriand, which is actually, it's one of the names of a good, nice steak of beef.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where I come from. That's it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so give us a testimony of something that happened to you throughout your career or when you was a child that made you want to give up on the things that you're doing or even start trying to do them, you know, and how you got past it.
Yeah, I think that feeling of thinking it's not doable happens constantly to me, but my instinct is strong enough for me to never stop. And I think it's one of the keys for people who constantly achieve, overachieve, outperform. It's you have to encounter issues to solve constantly. It's part of the journey. Absolutely. So if there's a problem, it's great. It means that you're going to evolve. You just have to find the hack, the way to get around it, find the solution to it. And that's the only way to get somewhere. And it's all about embracing that. And that's it. So I'm coding a lot these days, for example, and it's pretty much, the job is pretty much to be a problem solver. All day long, you have issues and you need to find a solution. So it's all about embracing that mindset.
Okay. So I see that you're a coder as well.
Yep.
Okay. So tell us about that.
Oh, sure. So I had 3 lives. So a big part of my life has been music, for sure. Then I started to be bored, you know, after doing that for 10, 15 years with a lot of people around the world, not being a big fan of the business side of things in that circle. I like logical things, results, being efficient. So I developed a passion for finance and the Wall Street world, and I actually ended up really learning about that really seriously as well. So I trained like a professional trader. I worked with hedge funds, private equity firms, and that led me to coding, because once you learn how to trade, you are highly encouraged to embrace technology to help you in your decision process. So that's how I got into coding. So I started to build a few things to help me with my work. And once you know coding, you can do a lot of cool things.
I know.
You know, so Yes, it's so great. So I did a whole bunch of different things with that. One of the coolest thing is I have a video game online that anybody can play for free, but it's actually paying me each time it's paid, each time it's played in cryptocurrency. So that became an interesting proof of concept of how you can monetize an experience online. And so I kept on developing things. I have also a series of blog posts on my website about artificial intelligence, and people can actually play with these tools on my website to understand what is it and how it's learning over time. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
And now, the past few months, I've been mostly busy coding for Hyperloop TT company, which is a transportation company. So I'm finishing a platform for them. So that's what I've been doing regarding coding.
Okay, so what is your website so people can be able to find you to play with your game? And what's the name of the game? Because I would like to go play it.
Oh, it's easy. Oh, for sure, for sure. So my website is just my first name, last name.com or .org. Same. It's going to redirect. The game is actually educationalgaming.org, but you can find it through my website easily as well. You need to play on a computer because you need the keyboard, but you can experiment that and see what's happening.
Okay,
so yeah.
Because I love playing games and stuff, so I'm going to check it out.
Okay.
You know, so those plaques back there, I know you were saying that those are your what you call it?
Painting.
Yeah,
my paintings.
And I call them your babies. So are you on your phone or your computer doing the video?
I'm on my computer. I'm on my computer, but I can move around if you want.
Okay, well, you don't have to if you don't need to, but just point at a few of them and tell us where they come from.
Oh, sure. Yes, I mean, I can move a little bit and try to not like shake, and I should be able to show you stuff. So, okay, and actually I'm gonna take that off if I can, and let's go. Yeah, perfect, look at that. Okay, look at that. We have the view right here. Okay, so I can start by the beginning actually. So these are actually Grammy nominations. So that's the track I did with Heavy D for Anthony Hamilton. So, you know, it's pretty surreal for me as a French person to just contribute to this kind of albums, because obviously Anthony is one of the most prestigious name in soul music.
Yeah,
I love it, you know, like I mean, it's hard to dream better, you know. I love these people, you know.
Exactly.
So that's it. That's for that. This one was actually my very first placement outside of France with one of the biggest K-pop band at the time, TVXQ. They're like gods in Asia. It's incredible. Yeah. So that was actually my first placement outside of France.
Nice.
This is actually, I should have something that looks like that for Leona Lewis. That's just a plaque for Grammy nomination for Leona Lewis as well. She was nominated for Best Pop Vocal Album. So that's gold album for Anthony Hamilton, because he sold quite a bit in the US, as usual, of course. Yeah. That's a platinum album for Leona Lewis for the US. So that was my first gig ever in the US. This is a French artist who won the main TV talent show in France. Radix Gigi, she is Quincy Jones' protege. She's a very good singer from Hungary, and we made her first single that launched her career, broke all records in her home country. Yeah, that's like 8 million views on YouTube, I think. Oh, so that was nice, you know. Her very first song, so that was great. She won the talent show in her country as well. This is Leona Lewis worldwide album. So that's for that's the plaque for the world. This is Big Time Rush. They have a TV show on Nickelodeon, co-produced with Fraser T. Smith. he did a lot of stuff with Craig David and Adele. This is Radix Gigi again. That's for her first single. That was for the album. This is Super Junior, big name in K-pop as well. And that's like another platform, like the Anthony Hamilton Grammy nomination right here in the back.
Nice.
And that's it.
Nice.
That's it.
Okay. So what can we look forward to in the future? What are you working on now?
So I'm really interested in combining fields to create interesting, unique experiences that make people think and help to make things evolve. Mm-hmm. So the video game I talked about is exactly that kind of experiences. So for me, it's like research, and how to be the most creative you can be and trying to participate to evolution. So as I said, I've been focused on building this new platform for Hyperloop TT past few months. And the thing is, I never know what I'm going to create next because, it's all about inspiration and you don't control it. You don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
That's the very interesting part. So it's just, I'm just going to try to keep combining these things and trying to bring interesting ideas to the table.
Okay. So any wife and kids?
Sorry?
Well, you have wife and kids?
Oh, no, it's just me once again.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yes. But then, I know when you're like that creative, it takes a lot of your space in your brain,
Yeah.
Yes. But I'm very busy in the kitchen too.
Yeah, well, you'll find that woman that got that patient, to
I guess. Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but I love to cook as well. So I love to do things in the kitchen. So that keeps me quite busy as well.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, you probably need to set up and do some little cooking segments and stuff. People love it.
Yeah, I have. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why I also put some recipes on my website because people have been asking. So people can go and try stuff if they want. Yes.
Okay. So I want you to give me some words, give the audience some inspiring words that you feel as though that they can grow with.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think a lot of people don't spend enough time by themselves. And I'm going to explain. Being lonely helps to know ourselves and to be in tune with our instinct, to develop that. And I do think it really helps to become the best version of ourselves. So, some people go deep into meditation, that kind of things. I think actually when you spend a good amount of time by yourself, you develop some it's almost like you get into meditative state very naturally, and that helps to develop ourselves a lot, and that helps to be more creative. And I think it's a very, very important thing to do because it helps you to take better decisions and to get ahead. I think people get very distracted, especially nowadays. It's so easy to be distracted.
I know so when I'm in a relationship, I get distracted from my creativity.
That can be part of it. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So I like to remind that because not many people talk about that. I think it's very, very important. So when you become strong like that, knowing yourself and being in tune with your instinct, well, whatever happens around you that is negative, it doesn't affect you that much because you're very centered, very aligned,
That's right.
And that helps incredibly to go ahead and to, even if you have issues, you always find a way to bypass the problem or like find a solution basically. So that's very important. And once you get that strong foundation, well, even if you get no's here and there, it's it's not that, it's just a temporary problem, and you will always find a solution. If your instinct is strong enough and pushes you to do this or to do that because you want to do it, you know, anything can happen, that you will find the way to do it. That's it. But it's a very important thing, very, very important thing to me. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, yeah. Well, I really, really appreciate you being on my show. You know, you're very inspiring. Thank you. You know, because I seen your post that you said from 2009 to 2020, and I'm looking at the plaques for 2000. I'm like, wow. You know, that's so inspiring.
Yes. Yes.
And it just goes, exactly. Do not, if you have a dream, just keep going for it. Don't let nothing and nobody stop you from following your dream.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you are strong enough, there's nothing that can stop you. It's just, how do you become that strong? So that's what I talked about. And people always tend to only see success. Like, you know, you see a nice picture with awards and people think, oh, that's it. That's great. But they have no idea all the things that went wrong. So, many more went wrong.
And see, that's why I love for people to come on my show and tell something that have went wrong. So, because it's so many people that want to follow their dreams, but then they afraid of following their dreams, or they get to the breaking point and they give up just because a lot of stuff started going wrong. So to have people like you that have succeeded over the humps and the lumps, and to come on my show and help me to inspire people to not give up on their dreams, it means so much, because I love to let people know that things can get done, and a lot of stuff is going to happen right when it's getting ready to get done, you know, and people give up right then, you know, not knowing that, okay, stuff is going to come in, because number one, a lot of times God is not going to let you just make it and take along people with you that don't deserve what you finna give them, because he knows that when you make it, we love to share, but everybody don't deserve it. So when you start going through stuff, the people that don't deserve to be in your circle start falling off.
Right. Well, entourage is very, very important. And I can share just 2 or 3 things. For example, I remember my art teacher in school. One day we were just drawing things, and it looked at me, looked at my hands and the way I was, my position. And he mocked me and told me, "You'll never be a pianist." And a few years later, I'm playing the piano on Grammy nominated albums. I'm playing on stage with the most famous salsa band in the world. It's just hilarious. Another story, I applied to be a student at the National Superior Conservatory of Paris, very prestigious music school in Europe. And I got rejected. But 7 years later, I got contacted to mentor their students.
Now look at there.
And another story about hip hop. People were mocking me in France for wanting to make hip hop music or things like that. Well, the first offer I got from people in the US were actually by the guy who used to run Aftermath, Dr. Dre's label. And then I ended up working with Heavy D. It's like, are you kidding me right now?
Exactly. So, and the people that didn't believe in you, I know their mouth is like, wow.
Yeah. Okay. And I, you know what? I remember also my first manager in the US, who is a very famous executive, who was not honest with me. You know, at the time, my tracks were maybe not great for hip hop. The drums were not strong enough and things like that. But he never really told me, you know, he could have told me, and I would have worked on that and get better faster. But then later on, I understood but it was just not a honest relationship. It's not good. That's not how you evolve, you know. But so that's really annoying, you know. So I've always made sure that I worked with people I appreciate, you know. I also had the opportunity to sign publishing deal with one of the biggest name in music and hip hop ever, which I didn't do because I was just not feeling the people, and the deal was bad, extremely bad. But you know, you make choices, you know, and that's it. That's all.
But it just worked out for you because you still end up doing.
And the funny thing is, a lot of these guys now see that I'm programming, I'm working with some of the biggest tech companies in the world, that I'm involved with this kind of stuff. And it's like I reversed the situation. They're jealous right now. They're like, they want to be friends with me. So it's kind of like social hacking, where, you know, I used to be in demand and asking for help, and they're like, please work with me. And I found a way to reverse the situation where, like, oh wow, we didn't really see his potential.
Exactly.
So that's
wow.
it.
Wow. Awesome story. Thank you so much. And I know that this right here is going to inspire a lot of people.
Hopefully. Sure, yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on my show. And y'all have been watching Living Your Dreams with Rosita. And I am Rosita. And that is Mr. Pascal. Yes. And peace and blessings, everyone. Peace.